Hi everyone, it's Michelle Carlisle with All In Realtor Team, here with another community connection on the Wentzville Parkbench. I'm here today at the Wentzville Community Historical Society with Lois Kessler.
Hi.
And she is going to tell us how on earth you start a historical society. It sounds pretty involved.
Well, the Historical Society was started, it's really a byproduct of the bicentennial that the country had in 1975. The town formed a committee to do bicentennial things like a parade, that type
Woo!
of thing. Right, everybody loves a parade. And the people that were on that committee thought, maybe we should have a historical society. Maybe we should try to preserve our history. And so that was the start, and they did a good job in the beginning of collecting items. And I know my father had an auction of my grandfather's stuff, and I know they were there buying that. They've bought things at different auctions.
Wow.
Many people stepped forward and gave them pictures from the 1800s and different areas like that. So that was the start of it, and we've been collecting items and for the past 45, 46 years. We had a small room at the Green Lantern, which was being used at the senior center, and we had a small display in there. But we really had no place to display everything that we were collecting.
And there's a lot
And
in
there's
here.
a lot. If you can imagine getting things for 46 years.
Yep.
And so we were lucky to work out a deal with the city to have the use of the upper floor of the old city hall at 310 West Pierce. And we've created this museum with the things that we're finding in our archives. And we're also using this space to document what we have in our archives. We're going through boxes and boxes and...
I've seen some.
Right.
And there's a whole lot of boxes.
There's a whole lot of boxes, and she only saw part.
Just a couple of rooms, and I know there are more rooms.
Right. So, and we're working to build a research room. So if you're researching a family or a particular business or something like that, you'll hopefully be able to find it here.
That is awesome.
We're 100% volunteer. We're 100% volunteer. And so we're always looking for new members. We're always looking for younger members, because when you get to your 80s, sometimes you're like, yeah, I want to come to your meetings, but I can't really help do that.
Right.
So we have 3 major fundraisers every year. We have a beer tent at Wentzville Days. I hope you guys come by and see that. We also serve what we're calling the Hurritrains, which is our drink.
Oh.
And then we do a cemetery tour at the end of September, the 1st of October. And then the second week in December, we've been doing a holiday home tour, and we just finished our home.
Just wrapped up.
That just wrapped up this past weekend, right? And it was successful. So
yeah, awesome.
So, and we try to partner with the different organizations around, the Arts Council downstairs, obviously, the city. The Wentzville Community Club is a great partner. This summer they had events out at their on their property at 500 West Main Street called Sunset Market, and we partnered with them to sell our Hurritrains, which is really a hurricane drink that we've renamed.
But it kind of plays on
right,
the red
it plays
caboose.
on our caboose, right. And so we partnered with them, and we were selling the Hurritrains at Sunset Market. So to us, it's about being part of the community and partnering with different organizations within the community, the Downtown Business Association being one. And we're, like I said, we're always looking for volunteers and for members, new members.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole lot of information.
Right.
And it's good to know that there are people trying to preserve the history. This is a pretty old community, and it's very, very easy for things to just get lost in the shuffle, especially with as much growth as Wentzville has seen recently. And it's wonderful to know that people are trying to keep that and preserve it for
I grew up
future
here in the
generations.
50s, and my father grew up here in the 30s. We graduated from Wentzville High School. There was no Holt High School.
Yeah, it was just one.
It's just one. I went to school at the Lutheran school over here when it was across the street. And growing up, there was maybe 2,000, 3,000 residents. Everybody knew everybody. If you did something uptown, by the time you got home, your parents knew it. And so when I
Small
see,
town girl, I know what you mean.
Right. So when I see that we have 44,000 people, and I get a phone call and somebody says, "Where's the caboose? I don't know what you're talking about." Well, that says to me they have never ventured off the Parkway. They have never ventured downtown, because a caboose is very prominent on Main Street. So it's hopeful too that we get people who are moving to the community to have an interest in their community and understand where we came from, to see where you're going. I mean, when you have a city alderman at an alderman meeting says, "Why does our city flag have to have a train? We're not a train town." You want to go, "Oh, wait a minute. Do you see this tracks right
Hold,
here?"
please.
Right. Do you understand the whole reason the town is here was because
Right.
the train came through. So that's why Flint Hill didn't grow, and that's why Wentzville did.
Wow.
So yeah.
You know, it takes all kinds.
Well,
and
yeah.
that was a nice, gentle way to educate that particular alderman.
So, but yeah, I won't say that I just happened to watch that meeting. I was like, what? Wait, whoa, come on. So,
Wow.
but yeah, so and it's not just about preserving the past. We're also preserving what's happening now, because it will be the past in not too long of a
Absolutely.
time. So,
I mean, it goes in the blink of an eye, guys.
It does, it does.
In another week or so, it'll have been 20 years. And you'll be like, "Parkway? What was that? What was the
Right.
Parkway?"
right,
Because it will have changed
right.
drastically.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. I
So.
love it. So what Wentzville can do to help out would be volunteer some time,
Right,
volunteer some old photographs,
right.
farm implements.
And we can, if you don't want to give up your photographs, we can scan them and return them to you. And we've done that for several people. But it does help preserve it. And we're always looking for business partners. We're always looking for sponsors to help us sponsor our events, because, nothing, Wentzville Days, before I sell my first beer, I'm $1,500 in the hole. So
Right.
I always
I mean,
look for
it's-
sponsors. It costs
it comes
to be,
out of
right.
pocket, and it needs to. It's got to
Right.
come from somewhere,
Right.
and it's those awesome
Right.
patrons that donate and
Well, and
businesses
support
that
our
help.
events.
And,
Like
yes.
our home tour this year, we had 165 people come to the event. And then Brian Nolan over at Friendship Brewing Company, comps us a free drink for those people. And we may have to revisit that, because I just found out how high that was. So, but Brian's also a big partner, and that's one of the reasons he named his business Friendship Brewing,
Yeah,
because it's about friendship and about helping. So,
and that is
yeah,
I mean, at the end of it, you don't take any of this with you.
no.
The most important thing in life is the relationships that you have
Right,
with
that
other
you
people.
build, right,
And
right. So,
this is a wonderful way to help preserve
Right.
and connect the community.
right. So, and like I said, I've mentioned the community club. They're an organization that's been here. I think in 2023 they'll be celebrating their 90th year.
Wow.
Uh,
Okay.
They're a organization that has raised money. They paid off the bonds for the first water. Wentzville didn't have water before the community club, and the community club.
Think
is
about
one-
that, guys.
yeah. So they didn't have water or sewer, and the community club is the one that was the driving force behind that. And they paid off the city bonds, and for 90 years they've supported the community, and they've been very supportive of us as an organization in our 46 years. So,
Wow. Again, it's all about everybody
Right.
helping everybody succeed and be better.
right,
One of the things that you're doing to help preserve the past while documenting the present, you're doing things called oral histories.
Right.
Tell us about that.
so the oral history project, we call it Wentzville Speaks, is we are interviewing people who have lived in Wentzville for a long time, or all their lives. And the oldest person we interviewed was 101.
Lot of stories.
A lot of stories. The youngest person we interviewed was 75, and I'm sort of concentrating on that range because I'm trying to, to be really blunt, I'm trying to get to them before they pass away. And we've learned some cool things. I didn't know that Wentzville used to have a show that had tin walls and no roof, and so if it rained, they couldn't show the show. The homecoming, everybody has heard of the homecoming, and they used to have a queen pageant, and there was all these women. Well, one of the queens told me, well, they were called scenery girls because that's what they were. They were scenery. They
just eye candy.
Just eye candy. They had to have a pretty dress, and they could be scenery girls.
How funny.
Jim Pittman told a story about when his parents ran the Mercantile along with the funeral home, but they lived above the Mercantile, and he can remember them driving geese to the pens that were by the railroad tracks, and the geese filled Main Street from side to side, and it went from the Mercantile all the way past our caboose, which is past Elm Street. So
Hong Kong.
you know, right. I mean, who has those kind of memories, and who can envision that happening now?
Not now.
Right.
Bad
right,
for geese now.
right. That, you know, you wouldn't have it, and you'd have people trying to run over the geese because they were
They're blocking my traffic. They're in the
blocking
way.
the traffic,
Yeah.
right. So Rose's D. Kroger Palmer and her brother Ned came from Jeff City to be interviewed. Rose's was one of the first queens, or one of the queens at the homecoming, and I happened to say something about, do you know where Rena Gill's hatchery was? Well, they knew right away where Rena Gill's hatchery was.
Of course I do.
Right. So, and it's interesting to see how people celebrated their Christmas. I was shocked that many of them didn't celebrate Christmas till Christmas Day. When they went to bed, there was no Christmas tree. When they got up, the parents had put up a Christmas tree and that. And so it was.
It's a little different now.
Now, where, you know, after Thanksgiving, people are putting up their Christmas trees. So.
I mean, Thanksgiving, I saw stuff going up after Halloween.
Well, that's true. So, and I think but it was just a different way of life, and a different community,
Yeah.
and you try to preserve that. So, and the other thing we try to tell stories, like we have a display here about George Freeze, and people my age, my generation, remember George when he had junkyards around town, or if some people want to call it supply lots. But
That's
you know,
a nice way to put it.
right? But well, and the American Pickers would love it.
Oh,
they
yeah.
would come in and have a ball. But George had the first Ford dealership here in town. George is the one that brought the first electricity downtown, and the people had a big banquet for him to celebrate him. And I think that history gets lost if they don't have some place like us to tell that story.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Because
So.
people don't stay in the same town that they grew up in nearly as often anymore. And those stories that your parents would tell you about when I was a kid,
Right.
if you don't live in that town, they don't mean much to
It
you, and
doesn't
you don't
mean much,
remember them,
right.
and it's like, mom and dad with their stories.
Well, you know, the other thing has been that it's just been a learning experience for the ones of us that volunteer here. It's been a walk down history lane, or if you're new to the community, it's been a learning experience. We have a group of volunteers from the DAR who really are those women are really very new to Wentzville, and they're learning things all the time. We had a group of volunteers from the Rotary that come in, and they've worked on the pictures, and they were able to say, oh, I remember this person, because I grew up in Wentzville, but then my jobs took me away for 40 years, and then I came back. And coming back was sort of seamless, because I just sort of fit right in with people I went to school with and high school with, and we have these shared things. And I want to say that when doing the interviews, one of the questions I ask is, what would you say about growing up? And every person I've interviewed, and it's about 30, 35 people, have said it was a great time to grow up in. Not one person has had a negative comment. And I hope that's true for the generation that's now. I hope that if somebody interviews them 50 years from now, they can say the same thing.
It was a great place to
It
grow
was a
up.
great place to grow up and a great place to live.
One of the things that I've heard the most about Wentzville is that it's still such a small town feel. So hopefully things like this and community organizations can help preserve that.
Yeah.
What does the future look like for an organization that's dedicated to preserving the past?
Well, like I said, we also are dedicated to preserving the now. So that's one thing. And in some ways, our future is a little iffy as far as having this display. The city has rented us this building for a nominal fee. But in their 5-year plan, I think this building is slated to be torn down. I think when they did a survey of historical buildings, this one was an example of 60 architecture, and so I hope that the city would remember that
Okay.
and maybe
All right.
rethink their things. And I've been just trying to work with the mayor to say, is there an alternative? But then, and again, we will probably have to have some sort of fundraising type of thing to find a new building, build a building, build a replica of the train station, something where we do have a home, because I think it's important to have this home. I think it's important that people be able to come in
I
and
agree.
see what we have and see what the town was and what the town is, and I think
So if
it
you
helps.
didn't know that the Wentzville Community Historical Society had a museum, if you didn't know that it existed,
Right,
we're right here on the corner of Pierce and Allen.
right, at 310 West Pierce.
It's the old City Hall building,
Right.
for those of you who have been in Wentzville for a long time. And there's amazing stuff in here to check out, and who knows, you might actually learn something too.
I will say the museum is free right now because of volunteer. We are open Monday through Friday from 10 to 2. If we have, every once in a while we'll have a volunteer that'll work on Sundays, and we post that on our Facebook page, Wentzville Historical Society. But if we had more volunteers, we could probably keep it open on the weekends in longer hours, but
Okay.
yeah.
So if you're looking for fun things to do with friends that maybe came in from out of town,
Right.
instead of looking at what movie do you want to go see, because I don't think the tin building with no roof is still
No,
around.
it's not around.
Um,
In fact, the show that we had when I was a kid is no longer here either.
Dang it, see?
I know.
We need to preserve these things.
I know.
Yeah, come on out, discover a little bit more that you maybe weren't aware of, and share that sense of community. It spans generations, guys. Wentzville is a very old, established town, so let's share that.
I agree. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I appreciate your time today,
Well, I appreciate
Lois.
you contacting us and giving us this chance to get the word out.
Absolutely. It's all about community, right?
Yes.
So thank you very much for
Thank you.
the connection, and we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.